Hello everyone, welcome to Let's Crack UPSC CSE English. About me, I am Sandeep Bhushan Thummala, and about my credentials, I have 8 years of teaching experience for civil services. I teach international relations, internal security, and in-depth analysis of editorials and articles. And this video is in regards to how to crack prelims 2020. Before that, you have a notification in regards to subscribing the Let's Crack UPSC CSE, which is India's largest learning platform. And once you subscribe, you will get access to all the unlimited live and recorded courses from India's best educators. And the other privileges are you will get daily live classes. You will have daily live classes wherein you can chat with your educator, engage in discussions, ask your doubts and answer polls. You also have the live test and quizzes wherein you can evaluate your preparation with our regular mock test and quizzes. You also have the structured courses wherein all our courses are structured in line with UPSC exam. You also have the unlimited access. Upon subscription, you will have access to all our live and recorded courses. And you have the top educators at Unacademy like Sudarshan Gurjar, Roman Sainisa, Ayush Sanghi, and Venkatesh Chaturvedi, Saurav Pandey, Dr. Siddharth Arora, and many more. And you also have the UPSC CSE courses. Courses are for polity, history, current affairs, economy. You have for geography, optional courses, UPSC CSE badges, and then environment and ecology, and also for science and technology. Along with this, you also have the courses for governance, practice and strategy, CSAT paper, ethics, integrity and aptitude, Indian society, social issues, essay writing, and also in regards to internal security and answer writing, and also in regards to the interview preparation. And then in regards to the UPSC CSE subscription, you have 12 months of subscription and also 24 months of subscription. If you go ahead with the 12-month subscription, the original price is 40,000, and you can go ahead with subscribing the 12 months by using my code SBT10, and once you use my code you will get 10% discount, and 10% discount would be the 36,000. So it's all better to go ahead with the taking up the my code SBT10. And along with this 12 months you also have the 24-month subscription wherein the original price is 48,000, but once you subscribe with my code SBT10, that is you will get additional 10% discount, and the discounted price would be 43,200. It's always better to go ahead with subscribing 24 months, because for 24 months you have an advantage in regards to you would be paying only for 12 months plus 1 month. That is, you will be paying 40,000 plus 8,000. So you will be paying 48,000, which you are actually paying for 12 months plus 1 month's fees. You are being given an an offer for 24 months. So you can go ahead with subscribing the 24 months, which you will be benefited totally. And also by using my code SBT10, your amount would come down to 43,200 for the subscription for the 24 months. So please go ahead with subscribing 24 months if you haven't still gone ahead. So take the maximum benefit of viewing my classes live and recorded, and not only mine but also in regards to the other educators in regards to various subjects or various courses. So do not waste time and then go ahead with the subscription with the 24 months. And then in regards to the in-depth analysis of editorials and articles of the Indian newspaper, it is very imperative for going ahead with the in-depth analysis, because it is the editorials and articles which possess many analytical and in regards to factual based questions for prelims and also for the mains. So it is imperative for you as a civil servant aspirant to go ahead with in-depth or the comprehensive understanding about the editorials and articles, because UPSC is also focusing on the analytical and factual data based questions even in the prelims by from the editorials and articles. So it is very important that you would be having a better knowledge after this course, that is in regards to the this channel, that is in regards to the this particular session. So make sure that you take the maximum benefit of my lecture, and then you will be totally equipped at the end of the session. Now we'll get into the topics which are to be discussed today, that is the safety net, the Wimbledon, and the national lockdown. So we will look at the editorials and articles which will be definitely useful for the prelims from today's newspaper. And then today's newspaper, you have the heading as the safe forest and safe people. So this is, the editor is definitely trying to emphasize on a point wherein there are two different areas for the for the people and for the animals. So we I mean, people should not get into or barge into the areas of the animals wherein they live, that is into the forest. And it is always better that we have our own zone, that is people zone, and then the animal zone, making sure that they have the safety net and even the human beings have the safety net. If we try to, what you say, barge into the animals the area or into their zone, then the safety net would be broken, and then it is the people or the human being who would be suffered a lot, the way we are going ahead with suffering with the pandemic, that is COVID-19. So it is imperative that we do maintain the safety net for the human beings and also for the animals. So we have seen in the past various pandemic which have been taken up, that is Ebola, we have seen HIV, we have seen, and then SARS, that is severe acute respiratory syndrome, and also Middle East respiratory syndrome, and also in regards to that bird flu and swine flu. So all these are, what do you say, a kind of barging into the animal zone or into the forest, and then that has created a pandemic like situation which is creating a lot of chaos to the human life. So all these symptoms of all this, what you say, in regards to the viruses, what we, I mean, the human kind of experience, that is, these are all the potential pandemics. And we have also seen that the recent one, that is the new one which we are facing or which we are all experiencing, it is the COVID-19 pandemic. So this is the fear what we need to actually look into. This is what we need to make sure that the forests are safe and then the people are safe. Why we will look at the reasons why the Ebola, HIV, severe SARS, Middle East, that is MERS, Middle East respiratory syndrome, bird flu and swine flu, and then now the new one, the COVID one, are really, what do you say, impacting a lot onto the humankind. This is because of the rapid spread of SARS-CoV-2 across the world, and this is an invisible processes which is going on, which help the pathogens, that is the virus or the bacteria which are originally found in the wild animals, make a leap to the humans. That is what my concern was in regards to explaining that we have to have a safe net, which is a safe net to the people and also to the animals, because these are the pathogens which are invisible. They are the bacteria and the virus which are not seen by the naked eye, and then these are the one which actually are being found in the wild animals. And due to the getting into the forest area or trying to, what do you say, barge into the forest area animal zone, it is making sure that those pathogens or the virus and bacteria are getting into the humans, and then later on the one who is badly hit is the human being. So we have seen in the past, and then again now with the COVID-19, it is imperative that we do not really, what is said, barge into the animal zone, because these are the pathogens which are actually creating a lot of problem to the human beings, because they are found in the wild animals, and these wild animals pathogens are being, what do you say, entering into the humans as a host, and then they are making sure that they are spreading virulently, and then they are actually, what do you say, growing in number, taking the humans cell as a host. So it is very important that at the end we are the one, that is the humans are the one who are being affected or losing the life, because we are barging into the forest area or into the animal zone. And then we have seen this novel virus which is effortlessly from human to human, which is, what do you say, moving, it is spreading across from human to human, and it is found as a large reservoir of host in the globalized world. That means these pathogens have taken the human cells as the large reservoirs, and it is the human cells which are the reservoirs or the host, and then they are spreading very virulently. And this is a cause of concern why we have taken the heading as the safety net. It is a safety net to the human beings by not getting into the animal zone. And we have also seen that because of this epidemics, or like previous epidemics also, there was a lot of chaos across, that is in regards to the people mass, I mean, being people being infected, and then later on there were also many people who were killed. So we have seen the killing of people, and that has led to the total lockdown. And then further the lockdown is that we are experiencing that the economic devastation or the economic crisis is taking place. So it is very important that we need to understand the essence of the making sure that we are respecting ourselves and we are respecting the animals, or else the kind of pandemic, the COVID-19, what we have seen, and it is spreading across the countries, across the globe, and then the entire globe is actually now shut down, or it is global lockdown, and then that is what is causing the economic devastation across the world. And then we have seen in the Wuhan, that is in the Wuhan district of the Hubei province in China, there is always a global trade in regards to the wild species. So that is an area of concern because humans are getting directly in contact with the wild animals. That is in regards to the wet market. It is called as a wet market, wherein in this wet market there is a trade going on in regards to the wild species, and these wild species do carry the pathogens which are harmful to the human being, and they are ranging from wolf pups to rats, and then civets is an what you say a ring-tailed cat which is native of Africa and Asia, and also in regards to the foxes. So all this trade which is happening, that is a wet market which is happening in Wuhan, is the cause of concern that probably the pathogen from the wild animals have been entered into the human cells, and that is really causing a lot of worry to the humankind as of now. And then we have also seen that in the previous that we have seen the Nipah virus and then the Hendra virus. This Nipah virus and Hendra virus has also created a lot of panic across the world in regards to the humankind. And this lethal Nipah virus transfers from bats to pigs, and then this Hendra virus is from bats to horses. So this is the what when people are getting again contacted to the pigs, and then they have close association with the horses in regards to the Hendra virus and also in regards to the Nipah virus. So again, it is what is highlighting that we are not really maintaining the viable ecosystem. Why we are not maintaining the viable ecosystem? Because we are getting into the forest areas, and then we are actually getting into the forest area because we wanted to go ahead with development, or we wanted to go ahead with the road construction and the development. Because of this, the viable ecosystem is being destroyed, and then there is always a possibility that eliminating of the need for wild black bats. This is very important because they should not colonize in the human surroundings. What is happening that the wild bats are actually colonizing in the human surroundings because humans are getting into the forest area. So thereby again that is in regards to our discussion, that is the wild bats which are supposed to be in the forest, because we are entering into the forest areas because of the development, road construction or infrastructure development. What is that we are actually facing is that wild bats are actually being colonized in surrounding to the human beings. So that is what is a concern, because it is the wild bats which the virus is entering into the pigs in regards to the Nipah virus, and then bats the virus which is entering into horses, that is in regards to the Hendra virus. So we have seen these cases, and these are the one which we need to really look into it and then maintain the ecosystem. So this is very important in regards to the again prelims point of view and mains point of view. A keyword that is viable ecosystem. It is a need of the hour for the human beings and the governments of all the state governments and the central government to maintain that the viable ecosystem is maintained. Thereby we can eliminate the wild bats not colonizing around or surrounding the humans. So that is very important. Once they start doing that, then definitely the virus would spread to various what do you say through various means to the human beings, and then we are again prone to the pandemic. And then the destruction of the forest, as we have seen, we are going ahead with destructing the forest, and then we are going ahead with the farming of wild species. And then as these are going on, that is the destruction of the forest and then farming of the wild species, these are the very two important things, that is destruction of forest and the farming of wild species. Because of this, I mean, humans are getting very close to the animals, and in turn it is not the humans which are being at the receiving end, but it is the humans which are at the receiving end. We are actually being experiencing the pandemic, and it is creating lot of, I mean, the loss of life. And this is the domestic animals again moving to the humans. So at the end, what is important is we need to make sure that we are maintaining a distance. I mean, now we are going ahead with the social distancing or physical distancing, but it is very imperative prior to this situation, whatever has experience or whatever we are going through, we should have maintained a better distancing from the wild animals and also to the animals, domestic animals, because from the wild animals it might affect the domestic animals. Again, from the domestic animals there is a wild chances of, what do you say, the virus being affected to the humans. So it is very imperative that we need to protect the ecosystem, not destructing the forest, and then not harming the wild species. It is very very important, and these points are very important for prelims analytical point of view and also in regards to the mains point of view. And there is also concern in regards to the economic activity, because in the means of going ahead with economic activity or the development, the government is going ahead with the road construction, they are going ahead with the mining, and these incidents or these actions are actually bringing the people very close to the animals. And when we are getting close to the animals, there is always a chance that the pathogens of the animals are being, or the virus or the bacteria of the virus of the wild animals are being contacted or entering into the human cells, and thereby as they are entering into human cells as a host, and then they are developing or they are multiplying at a faster pace because of the receptor of the human cell, and then they are as a host, and they are actually killing the human beings. So these are the ones which we need to make sure that there is a distance maintained, not now the social distancing what we are all talking about because of the national lockdown, but it has to be in regards to the distancing, maintaining distancing between the humans and the animals, so that we have a safer zone for the animals, we have a safer zone for the human being also. So we will look at the measures also, which will be very very important in regards to the mains and also in regards to analytical questions being framed in the prelims. And then biodiversity in forest are harmlessly retains dangerous virus. So this is very important, I will make you understand, because it is a biodiversity which we need to actually go ahead, because until unless there is biodiversity in a place, because we have biospheres, and then we have these national parks and all this. Why? The reason is because there is a space, there is a, what do you say, a particular area that the interaction of the humans will not get into the, or the barging of the humans into the animal life or animal zone will not take place. So there is a biosphere, there is a biodiversity, wherein this is a biodiversity which always keeps the dangerous viruses of the wild animals not being contagious to the humans. So that is what the biodiversity is. We need to understand this point, because many of you might not really looked into this fashion, because there is a biosphere. There are, what do you say, also this biosphere only to make sure that animals interaction do not take place, or animals humans will not have interactions with the animals. So in these regards it is very important that the dangerous virus are kept in that particular area itself, biosphere area itself, wherein humans will not enter into the that biosphere area, destructing the entire biodiversity of the entire species, and also making sure that the dangerous viruses which are with the wild species or the animals will not affect the humans. So that is a major cause, that this is a measure that we need to maintain that biodiversity. And then we have looked at the pathogens, the vast pool of wild animals which are away from the people. So as we have to be very maintaining the distance from the animals, so that the dangerous virus will not affect the humans, and thereby the keyword what we have looked at is the biodiversity. This is the one, the biospheres or the national parks. We know the difference between the national parks and the biospheres, because the biospheres are the one wherein humans will not enter into it, there will not be any kind of human habitat in the biospheres. That is the main reason that the dangerous virus which are with wild animals will not be affected or will not be contacted to the human beings. And then we also have the COVID-19, which has proved that short-term high growth trajectories can come to a abrupt halt with the pandemic. So as we are all going ahead with the high growth trajectories, so what is important is we need to always keep a check on the high growth trajectories. That means these high growth trajectories can also be, all of a sudden it would be an abrupt or it would be a halt because of this pandemic. And whenever there is, what you say, we are humans are not going ahead with maintaining a viable ecosystem, there is always a possibility that the high trajectory what actually we are going ahead, that is a growth, increase of the growth or the economy of the growth which we are going thinking about entering into the forest, and then development and infrastructure development, all that would come to a standstill, or it would be abruptly halt because of the pandemic. Why pandemic? Again, the dangerous viruses which are in the biodiversity or the biospheres will enter into the human cells, and then the whatever we have gone ahead with the high growth trajectory will all of a sudden be to a standstill or to a halt because of the pandemic. And we have also seen that this phenomenon is very clear that government should stop, and this is a measure is that the government should stop uh, making sure that we are not entering into the forest areas only because we are worried about the economic growth, we are worried about the infrastructure development, we are worried about the roads construction, dams, mines, and power projects, because this would actually go ahead with the development, this would go ahead with the job creation, employment, and all this, which are really good for the economic growth. But at the same time, there is a possibility that there is a danger which would pop up unknowingly without, I mean, our knowledge, because of the pandemic situation, the virus which would enter into the human cells. They are what you say. Many scientists have, environmentalists also have cautioned this, but the government haven't gone at giving an, what do you say, a long year to this, because the government is only worried about the economic growth, the government is worried about the roads, the government is worried about the dams, mines, and power projects. No doubt it is giving a better economic growth and also in regards to job creation, but we need to also make sure that the lives of the people are taken care, not, I mean, taken care by the pandemic situations or the virus or the pathogens which might enter into human cells, because when the humans barged into the animal zone, and there has to be a rollback in its dilution in regards to the environmental clearing system, because the government goes ahead with giving the environmental clearing system for many projects or many infrastructure developments, but there has to be, the measure is that the government should go ahead with thinking about what kind of, what you say, environmental clearance system is actually in place. If there is any dilution which is happening, they have to concentrate on those. And then in regards to the strengthen it with a mandate to the states. That means the environmental clearance system has to be strengthened. That even the states have to follow the same kind of stricter rules in regards to the environmental clearance system. And then the states and the central government also should leave the protected areas for the scientific experts. So this is very important, because it is a scientific or the experts or the environmentalists would actually bring to the notice, or else even the biologists would bring to the notice how it would be harmful when the humans are entering into the animal zone. So it is very important that we need to have a safe zone for the animals and then safe zone for the human beings also. So ultimately, it is a safety net which we need to provide not only for ourselves but also to animals. If we are not providing the safety net to the animals, then no doubt the one who would be wiped out is the human race. So we need to go ahead with providing or protecting or creating a safety net to first to ourselves, so we can provide the safety net to the humans when we are respecting the biospheres, when we are respecting not to enter into the barge into the animal zone. So this is very important. And then the way we have gone ahead with linking the COVID-19 with the safety net, that is protecting the animals, protecting the humans, and making sure that we are actually maintaining the environment. And then in regards to viable ecosystem, this is very important. Viable ecosystem, and we have also looked into the keyword, that is the biodiversity of the biospheres, and then linking it with how it is different. Biospheres are different with the national parks. So there is a difference, and that difference is actually because to keep away the dangerous viruses from the people. And these are the one which are actually very good information while you are writing an answer, and also when a question is asked in the prelims in regards to the analytical point of view, not just focusing on the COVID-19, but focusing on the environmental or ecosystem or biodiversity or biospheres. So you are now well equipped in regards to the how best the question can be asked, and how best you are equipped to answer to the question in regards to the prelims 2020 and also in regards to the descriptive for mains 2020. So now I would conclude this by a statement, that is, there is a mounting evidence that environmental protection confers health protection. So what we have discussed is this: if we are trying to protect the environment, then definitely we can protect our health. So until unless we protect the environment, or we say that we will go ahead with the infrastructure development, we'll go ahead with the dams, we'll go ahead with the mining, we'll go ahead with the power projects, then definitely we are not protecting the environment, but we are destructing the environment, and then that is nothing but we are ourselves unknowingly destructing, or we are creating a pandemic like situation which would create a health crisis, and then there would be loss of humankind across the world. And then the pristine, that is a, a very clear forest with diverse species, keep viruses virtually bottled up. So this is very important. When you have a diverse species, there will be very what is a different viruses, also diverse viruses which will be bottled up out of man's way. But if the humans or the man is entering into the diverse species, that is a pristine forest, then we are not what do you say away from the viruses. We are, I mean, viruses which are actually bottled up out of the man's way, we are actually opening the bottle, that is a virus of bottle, and then we are entering into that area, and then definitely those viruses are again entered into the human cells, and then it would affect the entire humankind itself. That is pandemic like situation which would be created, and that would be the making sure that the entire life of the humankind is being lost, and this has to be should be left undisturbed, and this should be undisturbed is the pristine forest have to be undisturbed, and then ecosystem has to be protected, environmental protection has to take place, environment clearance system has to be strengthened, and then biodiversity and biospheres have to be what do you say taken care, and then we need to just think about the impact of the entering into the environment or environmental destruction which takes place is just nothing but health destruction is taking place. So the entire we have looked at the editorial in a different perspective which will be useful for you for the prelims and mains point of view. Not just we were looking at each and every item or each and every news which is COVID-19. No, we have linked it the pandemic versus the environmental protection, or pandemic versus ecosystem. It was pandemic versus ecosystem. See, please do understand the way I'm taking up the class, because this will be very important for prelims and also for mains point of view. And these are the ones, or these are the keywords wherein you need to actually keep in view while you are reading the editorials. And as I said that you will definitely be what do you say UPSC will definitely frame the question from this angle or from this perspective. So out of this, you are very well aware now, you are very well equipped of the entire situation in regards to pandemic versus the ecosystem. And then we will look at the pathogens just for Prem's point of view for better understanding. Pathogens, I mean, generally human body is naturally full of microbes. So what are these microbes? They are nothing but bacteria and germs. But these microbes would be affecting only when our immune system is weakened. Otherwise, they wouldn't harm us. Only when our immune system is weakened, then they what do you say? They really create problem to the human being. Otherwise, they do not. And a pathogen is an organism that causes diseases, and all pathogen needs to thrive and survive in a host. So that is what I was talking about. The human cells, in the human cells, they go ahead with the pathogen or the organism, that is the bacteria or virus, gets into the human cell, and then they consider that as a host, and then they keep on multiplying it creates human cell as a reservoir of the virus. In regards to the coronavirus, it is a spike protein. It is a spike protein which enters into the human cell by a receptor called as ACE2, ACE2. This is a receptor in the human body, that is ACE. This is a receptor. ACE2 is a receptor of the human in the human cell, wherein this receptor, it attracts or there is a strong bonding affinity between the spike protein of the COVID-19 and then ACE2, and then once it enters into, then it becomes the reservoir of the host, or it takes as a host, and then it is a reservoir of the virus. So that is what the pathogen is. So we have looked at this because it could be a probable question again in regards to the science and technology, wherein you would focus not on the COVID but on the pathogens. And then for better understanding for you, I have given this explanation. And this once this enters, then it impacts the body's immune system, and then definitely it spreads, or it takes as a host, and then it keeps on replicating, and then it totally what do you say, it makes sure that the immune system is totally lost, and then we are at the initial, I mean at the stage of the death. And this will be transmitted in a, I mean, in a different ways. That it could be like through skin contact or bodily fluids, or in regards to airborne particles, and also touching a surface touched by an infected person. So these pathogens or the virus can be transmitted to the human beings, one human being to another human being, in regards to these. So we have looked at, I mean, this, if we are going ahead with the shake, and that is why social distancing is required, that human, I mean the hand could have many pathogens or the viruses and bacteria which could be spread because of the kind of shake hand we do, and that is to be avoided at this now. And that is why India goes ahead with the namaste, which is always required. And then we have the pathogens which are bacteria, and then fungal, and then you have the Procellus, and then the viral, all this is what is happening now in regards to the virus. So this will enter into the human body, and then now this, the virus, in regards to COVID-19, that is SARS, will affect the lungs, and this respiratory system will be affected, and then there would be a possibility of the mortality rate which would go very high. So I suppose this also would be a very good information for you in regards to the prelims point of view. And now we'll get to the next, the editorial will talks about the break from tradition. So what is a tradition, what is a break which has happened? So definitely we have seen in the past, or else a couple of days back, that even the Olympics which is supposed to take place, Olympics 2020 in Tokyo, is been definitely will be definitely, what you say, it will be shifted further, or it will be uh, going ahead further for 1 year from now, postponed to 1 year from now. So because the because of the pandemic, that is COVID-19. And then the other sport which has been hit is also Wimbledon. And prior to the Olympics, the one which was also hit was the IPL, because of the pandemic situation or the COVID-19. So IPL we have seen, and also in regards to the Olympics, and now the Wimbledon. And then it is that it carries a lot of history and nostalgia in regards to the Wimbledon, because it is, we have the other Grand Slams. So this is again for prelims point of view, make it very clear. These Grand Slams, or you have the French Grand Slam, US, and then the Australian Open. That is, these are the Grand Slams which you have: French Open, US Open, Australian Open, and also Wimbledon. And the fourth one is the Wimbledon, which takes place in the London. And this is, what you say, a very big event which actually takes place, and then it has, or it carries a lot of fan following in regards to the players, and also in regards to the fans. So this is what is happening. We have seen that Tokyo Olympics will be postponed to the next year, and then Wimbledon too will bite or bit the dust because of the COVID-19, and because of the kind of situation it's going on in regards to maintaining the social distancing. So it is always important that these very big events in regards to sports have to be postponed, making it clear that we maintain the social distancing, and then we save the lives of even the fans. Then we are also equally important that sport is a very good uh, important event, that it binds everyone, but when it binds everyone, it is a cause of concern at this moment. Social distancing will not be maintained, and then there is a possibility that the spread of virus would take place very violently, and the spike of the infected people would increase at a larger pace, and then it would also go ahead with many loss of life. So this we have seen, just we look at the few players which were the best players in the world in regards to tennis. This is Martina Navratilova, Steffi Graf, and Serena Williams. And then we have also in regards to the John Borg, that is from males, and then John McEnroe, Stephen Edberg, and Boris Becker, and also Speed Sampras, Andre Agassi, and now the recent one, which the, what you say, the recent generation would actually know about or know them better, is the Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, and Novak Djokovic. And these are the one which are the one which have been for the legends in the tournaments, that is in the tennis tournaments. And we will just look at for the base information in regards to prelims point of view about tennis tournaments. And this actually takes place in different surfaces, that is in regards to the you have four common types for the tennis. That is, when I am talking about different surfaces, again this is very very important for prelims point of view, because on the base or on the sidelines of the Wimbledon being could be postponed because of the COVID-19. there could be a question on the kind of coats, different surfaces. So that is, you have a four type, that is hard coat, clay coat, grass coat, and then synthetic coat or carpet coat. So this is very important for prelims point of view. There are four types of coats, tennis coats. They are the hard coats, and then clay coat, and then grass coat, and then also in regards to the carpet form. So that is called a synthetic turf. And then in regards to about tennis tournament, we have seen this, and then we have this, what do you say, US Open, and then Australian Open, which are hard courts. They are called as hard courts. And then you also have the Roland Garros, that is a French. Please do understand this, because this could be asked in the prelims in regards to the match the following. And then this Roland Garros is played on the clay court, and the Wimbledon is played in the grass court. That is why you have the picture here, grass. And then Wimbledon, when they are playing, I mean in the Wimbledon, that is in London, they go ahead with the strawberry. They distribute strawberry, the lot of kgs of strawberries which are distributed on the what is in the court, and this has been a kind of convention. That is why it is a grass court Wimbledon, and then the strawberries are also being distributed. And then in regards to types of court, as we have looked at, you have hard courts, you have clay courts, and you also have the grass courts, and then synthetic. We'll just look at it for the, what is it, again for prelims point of view, which will be important, because this we need to understand this, because it could be again a problem. Match the following questions. The hard courts are typically faster than the clay courts. This is very important, but slower than the grass courts. So hard courts are faster than the clay courts but slower than the grass court. This please do understand from prelims point of view. And then the clay courts, it is the slowest playing surface. Clay is the slowest. Hard courts are faster than the clay court but slower than the grass court. Fine. And the clay court are the slowest playing surfaces, and you have two types of clay court, that is a red clay and then the green clay. And then grass courts are the one which are less in common, because the grass courts are the one which have to be maintained. There is high level of maintenance which takes place, and then there is cost, very much cost involved in it. That is why it is just what we see it in the, what do you say, grass court, that is Wimbledon, that is in London, which takes place, and the rest all are not the grass courts. And then in comparison to the clay and hard courts, grass courts are far quicker. So which is a quicker one? The ball moves in the, what is a tennis courts, it is the grass courts. And regards to the, and it bounces lower bounce capacity, has much lower bounce capacity as compared to the clay court. And then in regards to the carpet or synthetic, it is, what do you say, it has a different material and it is faster than the hard courts. So carpet or the synthetic turf is faster than the hard courts and results in low bounce. This is very, very important in regards to the prelims point of view, because we never know how the UPSC might frame a questions in regards to the tennis, or on the sidelines of the Wimbledon they might pose a question in regards to the types of Grand Slams, and then in regards to which places, and then which are the different courts, that is hard courts, clay courts, grass courts, and then the synthetic court. Now we'll get into the tournament and then the month. This is very important because it was also asked once upon a time. I mean, there is a possibility again they might ask because of this. And then which country actually goes ahead with, I mean, hosting it, and when it was actually established. So Australian Open in the month of January, Melbourne, that is in Australia, and then it was in the year 1905 it has started. French Open, it starts, I mean, it goes between May and June, that is France, it qualifies at French Open or Roland Garros. It actually established in the year 1981, and then Wimbledon June July, which is in London, that is UK, and then it was established or initiated in the year 1877. US Open, it goes ahead from August to September, that is in US, and it was initiated in the year 1881. So there is a possibility that the question might be asked that there are the tournaments on the left side in the match of followings, tournaments onto the left side. These are all the tournaments. You might, what do you say, pose it on the left side, and to the B, that is to the right side, there could be the months. So Australian Open, when it is a beginning, Australian Open is the first, and then French Open from May to June, and then Wimbledon June to July, and the last end of the year which takes place in a year is the US Open, that is August to September. So please do understand this. The Australian Open is the one which opens. That is in the month of the beginning of the year. It is the Australian Open which takes place, and the end of the year, that is the last tournament, is the August September, that is US Open, and then the second one is the May June, and then the Wimbledon is from June July. This could be a probable question in regards to the tournaments one side and to the months the other side, because countries, as we all know, as we know, this French Wimbledon and then Australia US Open. Wimbledon is placed in UK. So we all know that, but we do not really focus on this, which month actually goes ahead. So this is again a probable question for the prelims point of view, and I have focused this because prelims 2020 you all should be equipped with what is a better knowledge and with a higher score. So I hope you will also try to focus this even once you finish this session also. And then there is one more article in regards to the quarantine and the law. So what is this quarantine and the law talks about? So it is talking about, or it is quarantine versus the law. So because of the national lockdown, because of the pandemic, because of the national lockdown, social distancing has to be maintained. Why social distancing? Because to make sure that the spread of the virus do not take place, or to break the transmission, we have to maintain the social distancing. But what is happening is, there is the social distancing is not taking place because of few reasons. I mean, now what we have seen is only because of the migrants moving from one state to another state or to the respective states, and in that process I mean, social distancing is lost, the essence of the social distancing is lost. And then for that, to maintain the social distancing, the state or the center has imposed various laws into it to make sure that they quarantine people. And then, as we know, we have seen that the various acts which have come into existence because of the national lockdown. It is Essential Commodities Act, and also Epidemic Disease Act, and also in regards to the IPC, Indian Penal Code Act, and also in regards to Criminal Procedure Act, and also in regards to the National Disaster Management Act. So all these have come into existence, and these have given the more powers to the state and the central to go ahead with the quarantining the people. Now there is a point, or there is a question, that whether there is the probability that we need to, I mean, quarantining and the law are going in tandem, or there is a kind of, what you say, that we can question the government at this time. But actually we do not, but still we will look at the few other areas, or few other, what you say, judicial reviews, and in regards to how the quarantine has actually started and all that words, we will look at for the prelims and also for the mains point of view. And then in regards to the, we have seen, because of the pandemic of the COVID-19, or the spread of virus, to safeguard ourselves, or to safeguard this safeguard our health of the citizens, we were forcefully enforced to go ahead with the national lockdown. So the national lockdown was for the betterment of the entire humankind, and in regards to India, for the entire citizens. And then you also have a list of diseases. So for that, what we have done is, so this the national lockdown or the social distancing is nothing but it is a self quarantine. It is a self quarantine. So this self quarantine is very very important, so that we ourselves have taken up the issue, or taken up the stance, that we will go ahead with the self quarantine to make sure that we will not be spreading the virus. And this is actually issued by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. So quarantine, this word, is actually when issued by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Again, this is very important for prelims point of view, because the quarantine is issued by which among the following? It is by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And then we have seen the severe acute respiratory syndrome, which was, what you say, recently because of the SARS, and then because of the COVID-19, the quarantining situation, or the quarantining has been taken place, or it is, what you say, by force, and then by self also we are going ahead with the quarantining because of the social distancing. And then we will look at the other, I mean, other times, or the other pandemics wherein even the quarantine has come into existence, to make sure that the spread of virus do not take place, or the preventive measures comes into action. That is, we have gone ahead with earlier in regards to cholera, diphtheria, infectious tuberculosis, and also in regards to the plague, smallpox, yellow fever, and also the viral hemorrhagic, that is escape of blood from the blood vessel fever. So all these instances, or all these situations of this kind of pandemic like situation, which has arisen, or which has come, which we have experienced in the past, the quarantine has come into existence. So we are focusing on the word quarantine. We are focusing on the word quarantine because how important is quarantine at the time of the national lockdown in regards to the pandemic COVID-19, and then how this quarantine will really help us to move out of the health crisis in regards to making sure that we would win over the COVID-19 or SARS-CoV-2. And this is quarantine is a medically accepted mode. Why? Because it is medically accepted because it reduces the community transmission. So this quarantine is nothing but the social distancing, and social distancing is a medically accepted wherein we will try to cut short the transmission of the virus. So we are focusing in depth in regards to the quarantine. Please do understand my session of this topic will be in regards to the quarantine itself, because we generally have been using this word, we are listening to this word quarantine, but we haven't focused on this quarantine, when it has started and all that. And my lecture and my session of this video will make you understand everything what is given in the article, and then I'm trying to put forward it in a very systematic manner which will be useful for your prelims and mains point of view. So quarantine is a medically accepted to make sure that we are cutting the transmission. So now we will look at the history of the word quarantine. So this word quarantine was since ancient times, wherein the societies have implemented or used this word quarantine. Why? Because to practice the isolation. But actually there is a difference between quarantine and there is a difference between isolation. Fine. But it was being used to practice isolation and imposed a ban on travel or transport whenever there was, what you say, especially during the maritime month, wherever the people were, what you say, moving from one country to another country or one continent to another country through the ships. So there was a possibility that these people who were part of this maritime, they would be affected by few pathogens, and that would create a panic to the other country wherein they were actually getting into the country. So there were, what do you say, we have seen this word quarantine right from the ancient times, that is from the maritime quarantining of those person itself, from the, what is the latest, from the very ancient times to the latest, that is modern time, we have seen the word quarantine. But there is a slight difference, as I said, between the quarantine and isolation. Quarantine is just 14 days, but isolation is that you keep the person away from, totally away from the person. That is a kind of ban you go ahead with on the person, isolation. And then quarantine is considered as the oldest mechanism, so that the spread of the bacterial infection or the viral or the in regards to the pathogens will not take place at the virulent, or else it will not spread to the many people. So it is a very oldest, and it has been followed since the ancient times. And then it has been legally sanctioned also. Then itself it was been legally sanctioned across the world, because to maintain the public health, or to make sure that the lives of the people or the entire humankind life is protected, and to make sure that it controls or to control the transmission of the disease and to protect the human life, they have gone ahead with a legal sanctioning of the quarantine. So first it was a oldest mechanism, and then later on it was legally sanctioned. Please do understand the way the quarantine has been coming to existence since ancient times, and as the oldest mechanism, but later on it has been also taken into consideration as an legally sanctioned one, because to contain the transmission of the diseases. And then it is about 196 years, that is in the year 1824, the US Supreme Court, in an en banc in the sense, it means full court, the entire, what do you say, the strength of the courts it been present at the time. And then in the 1824, the US Supreme Court, together everyone, the Chief Justice was John Marshall, has affirmed the powers of the state to enact quarantine laws and impose health regulations. So it is not now what we are actually going at with the quarantine, what India is going at with quarantine, or the entire world is going at with the social distancing. But it was, what you say, in the US in 1824 itself, 196 years back, the Chief Justice of the US Supreme Court, John Marshall, has stated that the state will have the powers to go ahead with enacting the quarantine laws and also to impose health regulations. So we are now understanding it better, since when the word quarantine is, what you say, taken up, and then there was a legally sanctioned one by the US Supreme Court in 1824 itself. So now we understand the word quarantine, how best we are trying to look at for the prelims point of view and also for the mains point of view. And then the first law on medical isolation was passed by the Great Council in 1377. This is again very important for prelims, because on the word quarantine, there could be a question framed in the UPSC. So the first law on medical isolation, that is in regards to the quarantining, was passed by the Great Council in 1377. When? That was when the plague has hit, and then it was ruining the entire European countries then. So it was taken into consideration that the first law on the medical isolation, that is Great Council in 1377, when the plague has hit the entire European countries, they have taken or they have passed this the first law in regards to the quarantining. And then detention for medical reason was justified and disobedience made a punishment. So detention was compulsory because of the law, that is legally accepted, and anyone who do not, what do you say, obey to the detention, or they disobey, then they would be punishable offense. That means as it is a law, as it is a legally, what do you say, accepted law, then the detention, that is quarantining, is a must because of the medical reasons. And then whoever is not abiding by the detention or the quarantining, then they would be under punishable offense. And this law has actually come into existence initially for the 30 days. This law, that is the first law in regards to Great Council in 1377, has initially come as a law wherein they wanted to isolate or quarantine initially for the 30 days, so that they felt that in the first 30 days, if the isolation has been done, the process or the possibility of the virus spreading across to the various people would be reduced, and it was called as Trentino. It was called as Trentino. Again, this is very important for the prelims point of view, analytical point of view. Prelims 2020, and this Trentino is what, a province in Italy. And then it was a law which was actually, what do you say, prescribed that it would be affected for 30 days in Trentino. That is, a Trentino is a province in Italy. And then later on, once this, what is a province in Italy, that is Trentino, has come up with this law for isolation for 30 days. Later on, again, many countries have adopted the similar laws to protect the people from the pandemics or from the various pathogens of the bacteria and viruses. So very important point here, what I am trying to focus is that it will be useful for your prelims, that is in the province in Italy, that is Trentino, the first time the quarantine has taken place with, what you say, a legal, that is the law into coming into action. That is for the first time with going ahead with the 30 days. And then later on, the duration of the isolation was enhanced. It was increased to 40 days, thinking that 30 days is not, what you say, sufficient. So they have increased it to 40 days. And then the name has changed to quarantine by adopting the Latin word called as quadraginta. That means 40. Quadraginta means 40. Now the word what we are actually using, the word quarantine, is the, what you say, it has the base or its origin is from the Latin word quadraginta. Quadraginta means in Latin 40. That means the one which was introduced in the province Trentino in Italy for the 30 days was enhanced to 40 days. 40 days in Latin means quadraginta, and this quadraginta is slowly, what you say, referred, or it has been changed to quarantine. Now what the word we are using, please do understand this for the claims point of view, which could be very very useful in regards to the 2020 prelims, because you never know how the questions could be framed, because many of the civil servant aspirant or the one who are watching my videos will just, or else they just know the word quarantine means 14 days they have to be in isolation or they have to be quarantined. But we have seen the entire history of it, and then the Latin word, from the Latin word quadraginta, the 40 means it has come into, and then quarantine is imposed to separate and restrict the movement of the person, as we all know, because it spreads the virus, and then it will spread the virus, and that is what we do not want to take place, and that is what the quarantining is taking place. And then because of the COVID-19, we have seen the closure of shops and academic institutions, and postponement of public examination have gone ahead with that. It is a kind of de facto quarantine. So when we have gone ahead with the national lockdown, that means we were trying to impose or come up with a process called as social distancing. Social distancing is nothing but the de facto quarantine. And then the question whether the public authority or the state, now the point comes into picture, that whether the public authority or the state can promulgate an order for quarantine is a legal issue. So we will look at whether quarantine is a legal issue. Again, this could be a very good mains point of view question. Quarantine is a legal issue. Comment, explain. or discuss whether it is a legal issue. And now we will look at the legal cases which are pertaining to the quarantine or in regards to the pandemics. The world, I mean, first time an employee of the WWF, that is World Wildlife Federation, was diagnosed with the HIV in 1990, and then the employee was terminated from service for and detained for 64 days, like the one what we have, that is the quarantine like isolation under Goa Public Health Amendment Act 1957. This is very very important again for prelims point of view, because in India, in regards to the HIV, an employee was terminated and was put under what is a isolation quarantine like situation for 64 days under Goa Public Health Amendment Act 1957. This is very very important for prelims. Under what act? That is Goa Public Amendment Act 1957. And then you also have the Bombay High Court 1990, which has felt that the detention was a serious infringement of the basic human rights. Please do understand here. The Bombay High Court in the year 1990 has felt that the detention of a human being or individual is a serious infringement. It is against the basic human rights. But it also said that such isolated detentions are justifiable. Please do understand. It says that it is a serious infringement on the basic human rights, but but in regards to the exceptional exigencies, it is very, very justifiable because taking into consideration of the public health. So, the Bombay High Court, what it has said in regards to quarantine, what we were talking about, that whether this is a legal issue. So, that is what now we are focusing on, whether quarantine is a legal issue. You will understand this better, because once I go through, make you go through all this, you will understand how far it is a legal issue and how India is going ahead with imposing all the acts. And then it was Bombay High Court in 1990 which said that it is an infringing to the basic human rights, but at the same time it is justifiable because taking into consideration of the public health. And in 2014, Kaki Hickox, a nurse and a health worker who has actually been a volunteer trying to serve or trying to go ahead with the service with the Ebola patients, when she has returned to New Jersey, was quarantined in the US. And when she was quarantined in the US, many of its peer group, or what do you say, the one who was part of the health workers, were actually against this kind of what you say action by the US, wherein they have quarantined the health worker or a nurse, that is Kaki Hickox, in 2014 recently itself. And then it has created a kind of what you say a disturbance. Consequences were dreadful. And then what the US has said is it is important or it is necessary to quarantine the nurse or the health worker because it is a dreadful consequences of the disease, and then there is a possibility of spreading of the virus. And then it is important that, I mean, that nurse or the Kaki Hickox was forcibly isolated rationally and reasonably. So again, when we are looking at this case, again it is the quarantining is a legal, it's not a legal issue, it's legally accepted one. So we have looked at the two different issues, that is in regards to the HIV and also in regards to the Ebola patients. And then the Epidemics Disease Act 1897, it empowers the states to take measures, special measures, to make sure that they segregate, that is in regards to they isolate people, so that the prevention of the or else the spread of the dangerous virus or the diseases do not take place. So again another act is that in regards to the Goa we have seen, the other one is the Epidemic Disease Act 1897, which gives the powers to the state to go ahead with the quarantining to make sure that the virus do not spread violent. And then it was this Epidemic Disease Act 1897 was amended in 1956, which has empowered the central government. Here it was a state, but now because of the amendments to the 1956 or the Epidemic Disease Act 1897, it has given powers to the central government to go ahead with imposing the restrictions on any individuals whenever there is a kind of what you say hazardous disease which could be possibility of spreading. So the Epidemic Disease Act 1956 gives the central government the powers to quarantine anyone who is infected by the virus, so that they will not spread the virus outbreak, or else the outbreak will not be very disastrous. Now we will look at the few of the judicial review again. very important for analytical prelims and also mains point of view. So what does the WHO guidelines says that? It says that the quarantining settings are to be made in hotels or dormitories wherein there is a well ventilated single rooms or homes, and then at least 1 meter distance has to be maintained. So it is very clear that the maintaining has to be, the quarantining has to be taking place in a very open, that is a hotels or dormitories, and with a well ventilated rooms, at least maintaining 1 meter distance. And then the WHO has also said it on March 30 that the COVID is a public health emergency, and as it is a public health emergency, it has issued interim guidance for the quarantines of individuals. So when the WHO has determined that COVID-19 is a pandemic and it is a public health emergency, so even WHO has gone ahead with that quarantining of individuals is essential. Please do understand, WHO itself, not that India is what you say going ahead. Now India, if anyone questions, it is not only in regards to what you say Indian government, but also in regards to the World Health Organization has also said on March 20, as this is a public health emergency, every individual has to be quarantined if at all there is infection. And then the self quarantining what we are going ahead with in India is in regards to the national lockdown. And then in regards to the international health regulation 2005, in regards to the international health regulation 2005, again this is very important for prelims point of view. There are guidance permitted to the restriction of activities by separation of persons. So that means in regards to the physical distancing, or in regards to the imposing 144 section of IPC, wherein there is a separation of persons which has to be taken place, and that is because of the international health regulations, and again that is being followed in regards to India. And then the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, US, has also gone ahead with quarantine, the word quarantine, and in the rule 9 of its, that is the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, US, has made it that people whose right is affected, why? Because of the quarantine, they can, what do you say, they have the right to seek judicial review. They have the right to seek the judicial review, because they can go ahead with taking the right, or including they can use that habeas corpus. By using the habeas corpus, they have the right to seek the judicial review whenever they feel that their rights are affected because of the quarantine. Please do understand, because of the quarantine, if the US or citizens feel that their rights are affected, they can seek the judicial review by the rights, that is habeas corpus, that is mentioned in the Center for Disease Control and Prevention in the US. So that is not in India, it is for US. And then the Supreme Court, here we have seen, has taken a suo motu in regards to the cognizance of fears of the COVID-19 pandemic. That means they were very clear that there were fake news which were taking up. So the fake news which have been taken up have also made it that there should not be any kind of fake news, and it is a duty or the responsibility of the government and the police department that they go ahead with maintaining, or in regards to quarantining, they go ahead with providing the good, or good food, and also in regards to the sheltering has to be provided adequately. And then not only that, in regards to, again, Supreme Court has said that in regards to the handling the migrant workers, it has to be in a humane condition. So again the Supreme Court here has gone ahead with a suo motu that there are fears, and then asking the media that they should not go ahead with any kind of spreading the fake news, or else they should not go ahead with any kind of free discussions, messages which should be popped up, or which the media has to actually take up. So not only that, it has also gone ahead with suo motu in regards to the overcrowded prisons in India. So it said that wherever there are that across India in the prisons, there are overcrowded, and whenever there is a possibility, if there is a possibility that if the record and the memos or the feedback is appropriate, so if there is a possibility, the jail superintendent and the jail authorities concerned can release few of the prisoners who are done their discipline, or their, in regards to their feedback, it is appropriately. So it has, the Supreme Court has also gone ahead in what is taking the case suo motu in regards to the March 16, in regards to the overcrowded prisons, taking into consideration of social distancing. So I would conclude this by making a statement that a constructive alternative method, this is very important, a constructive alternative method treating patients exposed to infectious disease is the imperative need in the arena of public health. So that means there is a sense that a reform has to take place. What is that reform? The kind of quarantining is going ahead. The kind of, what you say, they are kept isolated. Yes, no doubt they are being kept isolated for the betterment of the humankind, for making sure that each and everyone is protected. But still, is there a constructive alternative method in regards to the treating patients who are exposed to infectious diseases? And it is that it is an imperative need in this arena of public health that we need to have or find out an alternative method. So if this is a question asked in the mains, then how best you can answer? Now you have all the points with you, the way quarantine has come up, and then how we have also gone ahead with various methods, and then in regards to the legal issues and then judicial reviews we have gone ahead, and then taking into all those into consideration. Now you are very well aware and you are equipped to write a better answer in regards to the mains, and also you have many factual and then analytical points in regards to the prelims, so that you are very well, what is it, confident to go ahead with attempting prelims 2020. By my lecture with this, what you say, session, you are more knowledgeable and then you are more equipped, and I feel this session has been very informative, knowledgeable, and then it has provided a better information for prelims 2020. So please do like, subscribe, and then hit the bell button for the notification when you are watching the YouTube channel, that is Let's Crack UPSC CSE English. And if you haven't subscribed the Let's Crack UPSC CSE English, please do subscribe by using my code SBT10, that is Sandeep Bhushan Thummala, and then you would get 10% discount on the subscription. Please do go ahead with subscription for the 24 months, wherein you will be beneficial by paying just only for the amount of 12 months plus 1 month. That is, you will be paying only for 13 months, but you will be getting the entire 24 months subscription. So please do go ahead with subscription and then use my code SBT10 to get the 10% discount. And thank you. See you tomorrow at this time.